The Honorable Ramon Rodrigo Gutierrez is recognized for his privileged speech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Diyos maray na aldaw sa tuwing gabos. Let me first beg this body's indulgence. As a general rule, and when able, we prefer to work with bills and resolutions. It is not our usual method to address concerns with privileged speeches. As much as possible, we would like to give way to our colleagues who may very well have more pressing concerns to air out during the privilege hour. In most instances, bills and resolutions are sufficient. But today, I feel the need to rise on a matter of collective privilege, on an issue that has been plaguing the country for far too long, and most recently has set its sights on this august chamber. I am talking of the proliferation of China's narrative in domestic politics, most notably that of the so-called gentleman's agreement over the West Philippine Sea. Right off the bat, allow me to comment on the incident which first sparked my need to stand on this concern. Allow me to express my utmost displeasure with the Chinese embassy's statements on an inquiry filed by a colleague. On April 18, the Chinese embassy made a statement, and I quote, "Individual Philippine politicians are hyping up China-Philippines maritime issues and exaggerating the maritime differences in the name of national security to serve their political agenda and self-interest and undermine China-Philippines cooperation. The unfounded accusation of our educational exchanges is yet another malicious sleight of hand to incite suspicion and hatred of China. Insightful people in the Philippines have not lost sight of this tendency by calling it McCarthyism resurrecting in the Philippines." This statement, my dear colleagues, an accusation was levied against Congressman Lara, a sitting representative of the people of the 3rd District of Cagayan. It should be noted that that issue isn't a law passed by Congressman Lara. It isn't even a proposed bill. There is no government policy or program being questioned. It was simply a resolution seeking an inquiry into what the good congressman sees as a cause of concern within his district. For the Chinese embassy to issue a statement directly attacking the inquiry and the motives that Kong Lara may have, is this the non-interference that China espouses? The China's embassy would chalk this up to xenophobia, a resurgence of McCarthyism, according to them, and would attack and malign Congressman Lara's motives for the resolution. Why does the Embassy of China presume to have the authority to tell us, the representatives of the Filipino people, our motives? We take exception to this statement. Of course, this defense of Kong Lara is not to say that the premise is accurate or that the allegations are 100% true. But if there is any truth to the claim, even a semblance, would this not warrant an investigation? Would this not be a national security concern? Is that not the whole point of an inquiry, to ferret out the truth and bolster our laws? Unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. It does not require the most perceptive of minds to note an escalation of tension with our northern neighbor across the sea. Mass loan runs uncovered by Representative D. Investigations under public accounts on foreigners purchasing land, contrary to the Constitution. Issues on immigration of multiple undocumented entries, just mentioned right now by Congressman Abante. The proliferation of POGO and POGO-related crimes. And in the last few weeks, apprehension of 2 citizens with high-powered firearms in Taguig. An unauthorized research vessel off the coast of Catanduanes, now somewhere along the coast of Albay. And just today, another instance of unlawful use of water cannons in Bajo de Masinloc. All of these issues come with security concerns. Would an inquiry into this be construed as McCarthyism on the sole basis that China is involved? This is xenophobia, according to them. I, for one, beg to disagree. We are talking here about the preservation of our country, which no one else but the Filipino people can decide. It can be recalled that in December of 2023, there were calls for the expulsion of Chinese Ambassador Huang. On this matter, a calm and balanced President, BBM, remarked that it is his job to repeat China's narrative. Granted, but when the embassy's comment speculates on a sitting representative's motives, is that his job? When their official position dismisses security concerns as fanciful thinking and politicking, is this China's narrative? Worse, what then when the official narrative alludes to the existence of a secret agreement and one which has been repeatedly denied on official stances? This brings me to the second and perhaps more pressing issue. We cannot talk about the China narrative without talking about the West Philippine Sea. We must address the elephant in the room. I am referring to the supposed gentleman's agreement entered into by the PRC, People's Republic of China, and the previous administration, and the abandonment of BRP Sierra Madre. Sometime in August last year, the issue of a so-called gentleman's agreement on West Philippine Sea came to light. The Chinese embassy maintained that the Philippine government made a promise a little over 2.5 decades ago to withdraw BRP Sierra Madre. This, the Philippine government has consistently denied, and eventually the issue passed. However, on March 27, and in light of escalating incidents of grain zone tactics being employed in the West Philippine Sea, ex-spokesperson Harry Roque bared the shocking news that yes, the agreement did indeed exist. Of note was the particular mention of the issue of BRP Sierra Madre. To quote, "Walang gagalaw, walang manggagawa ng kahit anong improvements at walang magiging problema." It should be noted that BRP Sierra Madre was grounded in 1999. It is our bastion of sovereignty in Ayungin Shoal, but it is a decaying one. Without repairs, it is sure to fall. Response to this revelation was swift. Members of the previous administration denied the agreement's existence. The ex-spokesperson came out with a conflicting account, confirming the agreement but denying its reference to Ayungin Shoal. As an official stand of the Philippine government, on April 10, President Marcos Jr. denied and said he was horrified to hear of this agreement. On April 12, the Secretary of National Defense was quick to comment and confirm that no such deal existed on their records. But all throughout this ordeal, the China narrative has remained steadfast. There was a deal, come back to the fold. The question on our minds is this: is there any truth to this narrative? It seems only the previous administration would know. It can be recalled that the previous administration enjoyed a thawing of relations with China. With the recent revelation, is there any truth to this claim? Was the thawing of relations based on a promise to abandon BRP Sierra Madre? Is the current administration's perceived unilateral withdrawal the cause of escalating tension in the West Philippine Sea? China's narrative seems to answer these questions in the affirmative. As a member of the Special Committee on West Philippine Sea, I have been made privy to some reports and updates which, unfortunately, I cannot disclose here. However, what I can say is that there were instances that did not make sense. Seemingly illogical and counterintuitive actions and plans from the brightest and greatest our country has to offer. In retrospect, the existence of a so-called gentleman's agreement might be able to explain these inconsistencies. Do not get me wrong. The fact that the President is the chief architect of our foreign policy is not lost upon this representation. We understand the constitutional powers vested in the executive, but as with all powers in a democratic country, there are checks and balances. Treaties must be ratified and officials made accountable for foreign policies. A democracy is no place for secret dealings with foreign powers. The abandonment of BRP Sierra Madre is the abandonment of territory, and with that, the abandonment of a sacred duty to uphold and defend the Constitution. I pray that these allegations are not true, and China's stance is based on a false premise. But claims made by the ex-spokesperson cannot be ignored. It is time to put China's narrative to rest. I therefore urge the appropriate committee to seek an inquiry into this matter. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.